Hello. Hey, did you just have Terry on earlier? Because you got my counties mixed up with Sangamon's again. It happens so often. It's just part of your habit. Yep. It's okay. It's going to be our thing, I think, when we do these. Yeah, so we were talking off air about how eggs kind of get a bad rap, and so with May being National Egg Month, I thought it'd be a great time to kind of dispel some myths and talk about all the things because um, eggs are. We'll start with nutrition because that's what we do here with my role. So eggs are a excellent source of protein. They have a variety of vitamins and minerals in them. They're a source of vitamin D, which is unusual for a lot of foods. A lot of foods just don't have vitamin D, other than we know that as the sunshine vitamin. So getting outdoors. Finally, we're getting into warmer weather, so we can have a little bit more sun exposure on our skin. But eggs are a source of vitamin D. But what people hear is eggs and cholesterol. That's what most people think. Eggs are definitely the biggest source of dietary cholesterol. One egg is about 200 milligrams of dietary cholesterol, so that is a lot. But what we're seeing with newer research in the last 5 to 10 years, which is exciting for people that like eggs, but also maybe have high cholesterol, is that the cholesterol found in foods, and cholesterol is only found in animal foods. Eggs just happen to be one where it's a really high amount of cholesterol. The cholesterol in foods does not impact our blood cholesterol quite the same as previous research had suggested. And so what we're seeing instead is that what does increase our blood cholesterol is actually the saturated fats in food. So those are fats that are more solid at room temperature. So we tend to find those on things like cover fats on meats, different butters, solid fats like some margarines, depending on the formulation, lard, bacon grease would have more of those solid fats, so saturated fats. So for folks that do have heart disease or high cholesterol, you always work with your doctor, but look at adding eggs back in and see how that impacts your cholesterol numbers because it may not raise it as much as previous research has indicated, which is exciting. If you like eggs and you want to eat them, go enjoy them. I think that's great. Sure. So exactly, preparation will change the saturated fat content of the egg. So uh, we do I do encourage people to eat the yolk as part of the egg. I know that that's been one method is just using the egg white, but that's where a lot of the vitamin D is in the yolk. And so by just doing egg whites, you are missing out on some of those additional nutrients found in the yolk. But yes, how we prepare it. So if you are frying your eggs in butter, butter is a source of saturated fat, so that will absorb a little bit into the egg. If you're doing something like a quiche or some type of breakfast casserole where you're adding in sausage or bacon, which are higher saturated fat foods, those will also raise the saturated fat content of that egg casserole. So that's changing the profile. So we can talk in classes that I do about how do we modify or just use less of some of those saturated fats, or we use different cooking methods. We can try poaching eggs. We can try hard boiling eggs. We can just use less of some of those saturated fat ingredients. So instead of maybe a full pound of bacon in your casserole, maybe use half a pound to get started. Well, hopefully I'm doing my job a little bit by doing some education here. Uh, the hope is that just general education will encourage people, hey, eggs are not that scary. I know for many, many decades, that's been the recommendation for people that have high blood cholesterol is to cut out eggs or just eat fewer. And so we can have a new discussion around that. And one thing too that I think we're also shifting towards is the marketing of different types of eggs. So that kind of category of, is it a free range egg? Is it a pasture raised egg? Does it have omega-3 fats added to the egg mix that the chickens are eating? All of this kind of language around eggs hopefully kind of makes it a little bit more appealing for different aspects. So if a consumer is more interested in the raising of those chickens, are they getting outdoor space? And maybe that if that's marketed on the egg carton, that customer feels, okay, I want to support that. And so they can choose to purchase eggs from certain brands. But nutritionally, we don't see a lot of changes. I know with that growers will add different supplements to the chicken feed to try and up the and change the nutrient ratios of certain parts of the egg. And that works a little bit. It's not like it's not a big 180 difference, but it does change it a little bit. So those are things that if you're looking to add more omega-3 fats to your diet, which people talk about from a heart health perspective, eggs are probably not a huge source of that, even with the supplements added to the chicken feed. You're going to get more omega-3 fats from things like fish. So eggs are going to be a tiny source of that. You're going to get a bigger bang for your buck from something like fish. Right. So you see generally in grocery stores, you'll see white eggs or brown eggs. The shell color is just different. It's only reflecting the breed of chicken. So it's not reflecting nutritional changes. But what you do see, as you observed, is the price difference. The chickens that tend to produce white eggs are generally smaller. They grow with less feed, and so it costs less to get eggs from those chickens versus the chickens that produce the brown eggs are generally larger birds, so they take a little bit more feed. They take a little bit longer to get to an egg laying age. And so those eggs are a little bit more expensive. So nutritionally, no different. But if you are noticing that you don't have the option to purchase white eggs and you have brown eggs, just know that you are going to pay a little bit more for that. But nutritionally, it doesn't change. And there's even some breeds that do some really fun, like light blue shells and some light green shells. We've had a couple of tours with different farmers in the area that have hens that lay those fun colors. Again, not nutritionally different. You can still enjoy the eggs, but it's just they're fun, right? It's just a fun difference. So in terms of just, what do you do with eggs? I mean, I think a lot of us are probably familiar with basic things like scrambled eggs or putting it into casseroles. But, look, or I guess thinking about how do we add eggs in just other things. I know one thing that I've tried recently that I've quite enjoyed is baked oatmeal. So it does include eggs and it's just kind of a different breakfast spin on that. So you're having some oatmeal with whatever spices or fruits that you want to mash in there. And then you're adding in some eggs and some milk. So it's kind of like a breakfast casserole, but it's got the addition of oatmeal. And so it's just kind of a fun little bake. You can slice it up into squares like you might a casserole. I've topped mine with yogurt. You could probably do it with other types of like granola or honey or butter, whatever suits your fancy. But that's been a fun one for me lately. And then I've been getting back into hard-boiled eggs more. I know that's a textural thing for some people that they don't enjoy, but those have been really nice. We've been doing a lot of classes with appliances. And so if you have a electric pressure cooker, like an Instant Pot, these are super easy ways to not have to worry about watching the water boil. You can add a couple eggs to your pressure cooker and set that, and they're done in you know, basically the same amount of time it takes to cook them on the stove, but you didn't have to watch the pot. So I've been enjoying doing that lately. And then also look at egg uh, speed of cooking. Eggs, if you cook them really, really fast, like a scramble egg, that pushes water out really fast. And so you may want to turn the heat down as you're doing something like a scramble egg and cook those a little bit more gently. You're not pushing as much water out, so you get a nice fluffy egg that way versus cranking up the heat and just scrambling the heck out of it real fast. You're going to lose a lot of water, so it'll be a tougher egg. Yeah, and it, it all ends up in your stomach anyway. But for me, I've noticed the slower I cook them, I like the texture a little better than when I cook them super fast. Yeah, so head to our website. You can read our different blogs on topics with cholesterol, heart disease, eggs at extension.illinois.edu/food. And that will have all the links to a variety of different things. And then actually a little fun trivia to end off this segment. I get calls occasionally, how long can I keep eggs? And they're surprisingly long. It's about 3 to 5 weeks from when you bring them home with you. So that is excellent for people that just want the occasional egg. You do get quite a bit of time off of those 3 to 5 weeks. That is great for a lot of food storage. So the jury is still out on what exactly causes a food allergy, but we know that it involves the immune system and how individuals' immune systems respond to certain proteins in those foods. And so there's currently 9 major allergens that are recognized in the US. Of course, you can be allergic to anything, but these are the most common that we see. So we have milk, eggs, fish, and then shellfish, tree nuts, so things like pecans or walnuts, peanuts, wheat, soy, and the newest one in the list that was added this last year was sesame. And so of these 9, these are things that individuals with food allergies have to look out for when they're eating at home, when they're eating out, when they're shopping. And so it's a big life change for them to have to recognize that, okay, I have an allergy that is life-threatening for a lot of people. They will show symptoms like having hives or some raised red spots on different parts of their face or their body. They may have trouble breathing. They may sound like they can't quite get a good gulp of air. They may feel kind of dizzy or lightheaded, or kind of at the worst end of that would be going into anaphylactic shock, where their immune system is trying to get rid of this. For them, it's a foreign body. Their immune system says this is not supposed to be in my body, and so it tries its best to get it out. But in effect, it tends to kind of shut down the body. So in those cases, those people need emergency medical attention. So please call 911 if you suspect someone does have a food allergy. Yeah, and so when individuals have food allergies, one, their main concern is just making sure they're avoiding the thing that will cause an allergic reaction. But then, yes, trying to figure out how do we fit in somewhere some of these kind of missing nutrients. For example, if you have an allergy to fish or shellfish, your body is saying, this protein in fish is not for me. It's not okay. But fish does have a lot of health benefits. It's a lean source of protein. It has omega-3 fatty acids. It's got different nutrients. Certain fish are a source of vitamin D, which we talked earlier about when we talked about eggs. So for those folks that have a fish or shellfish allergy, we would encourage them to look for those missing nutrients elsewhere. So some nuts do contain omega-3 fats, so that may be a substitute for them to kind of get those back in. Vitamin D, there are supplemental additional foods, so things like milk usually has supplemental vitamin D added to it. Eggs can be a source of vitamin D. So trying to make sure that even if they're not eating certain food because of a food allergy, let's try to make sure we're also getting in some of those missing nutrients elsewhere. And even if that means supplementing later. Yeah, so we have, and then of course I've got to find my list. Our team in DeWitt County, a team of 1, Tammy is going to be hosting a series of classes in May on food safety in the home. So we're going to get a little bit of pizzazz with this title. So it's the most dangerous room, the kitchen. So she's going to talk about food safety in your home kitchen and ways to make sure that you are doing that well. That'll be at the Weldon Public Library at 10 a.m. on May the 3rd. She's also going to be hosting a meal planning class with Farmer City Outreach Ministries in Farmer City on May the 21st at 6 p.m., so over the dinner hour. And then she's going to be headed to Warner Library in Clinton at the end of the month, May 30th, also from 6 to 7, doing a class on cooking for 1 or 2. So all of our classes and registration information is up at our website, go.illinois.edu/DMP for DeWitt, Macon, Payette. And you can register also by calling any of our offices.